one thing is very clear. The Indiana Fever is America's team. And boy, the haters, by the time this season is over, their heads are going to have exploded already. They're going to be so angry by the end of this WNBA season. I mean, it's going to be hilarious watching the daily meltdown.
Caitlin Clark isn't just rewriting the record books, she's making entire WNBA teams abandon their own arenas like they're in a fire drill. Atlanta, Chicago, Connecticut, Dallas, Las Vegas, Washington, they're all bailing on their usual home courts just to make room for the Caitlin Clark effect. And somewhere, Angel Ree is scrolling her phone fuming, wondering why it's not her name on those billboards. Meanwhile, Aisha Wilson's probably tweeting about respect again while Clark racks up 41 nationally televised games. That's not a schedule, it's a coronation.
Caitlin Clark is going to spend all of next season playing in NBA arenas. We've got rival fans being furious that, Caitlin Clark is that she's getting new arenas, getting moved to new arenas. You've got people saying that they're pushing the Fever. Why are they pushing the Fever?
Let's pause for a moment. Could you have imagined the day when WNBA teams would willingly pack up and leave their own cozy home courts just because one phenom is coming to town? Well, that day has arrived, and it's all thanks to Caitlin Clark. 6 franchises are ditching their regular spots to move into NBA level arenas, which means that all Indiana Fever games, whether home or away, will now be played in venues that can hold at least 15,000 fans, not because it's cute, but because Clark is a one-woman sellout machine. And while the rest of the league plays in arenas that feel like high school gyms, Clark demands NBA floors. Let that sink in.
Franchises are ditching their regular spots to move into NBA-level arenas, which means that all Indiana Fever games, whether home or away, will now be played in venues that can hold at least 15,000 fans. Not because it's cute.
Let's be clear, these aren't minor upgrades, we're talking about full-blown venue escalations. The Atlanta Dream is headed to the Hawk State Farm Arena. The Chicago Sky, who spent last year pretending Angel Reese was the main draw, are now doubling down with not 1 but 2 games at the United Center because Caitlin's coming. Other than those Fever games, Ree won't see the light of day at United Center. Even the Aces, home of Aisha Wilson, are booking the T-Mobile Arena just to handle the Fever Dream. That is the Indiana Fever.
That there are 6 WNBA teams that have moved their games to NBA or NBA size arena.
What's hilarious is how just last year all these same teams were downplaying Caitlin's arrival like it was no big deal. We don't need her, they said. The league is already thriving, but actions speak louder than shady subtweets. They're not just rolling out the red carpet, they're repaving the entire street.
Atlanta Dream moved 1 game to the State Farm Arena. Chicago Sky moved 2 games to the United Center, home of the Bulls, home of the Blackhawks. In Atlanta, by the way, that's the home of the Hawks. Connecticut Sun moved 1 game to TD Garden, home of the NBA Celtics. That's going to look really freaking cool on TV.
Now Connecticut deserves a special shout out here. These folks don't even have a nearby NBA venue, but for Caitlin they're packing up and heading to Boston. Yes, a whole different city to host the game at the TD Garden. Your presence is powerful when teams start outsourcing their home games to other zip codes. Imagine the chaos if Angel tried to pull the same move. They'd be lucky to get upgraded to the high school next door.
Dallas Wings have moved 1 game to American Airlines Center, home of the Mavs and the Stars. Las Vegas Aces have moved 1 game to the T-Mobile Arena, home of the NHL's Golden Knights. And the Mystics have 2 games moved to CFG Bank Arena. All right? 6 teams have all moved their home games to ones with larger capacity.
And it's not just them. The Dallas Wings and Washington Mystics are jumping on the Caitlin train too, relocating their Indiana matchups to bigger arenas with more seats and even more dollar signs. This isn't coincidence, it's a full-blown league-wide blueprint. Caitlin Clark comes to town and suddenly it's not a basketball game. It's a fundraiser for the opposing team. Some analysts are calling her the WNBA's walking stimulus package. Honestly, that's not even a joke, it's a fact.
We're now at the stage where Caitlin Clark is probably going to be responsible, I'm not joking when I say this, for like games where she plays in are probably going to be responsible for like 30% of the attendance in the WNBA.
So where are the haters now? The same folks who were whining about hype are suddenly real quiet as their arenas sell out and their ratings skyrocket thanks to the one player they didn't want to acknowledge. Meanwhile, Angel Ree is probably still fuming that her big unrivaled championship didn't even get this kind of attention. And Aisha Wilson, she's busy dropping cryptic tweets while her team relocates for Clark.
There are teams that are going to average 3,000 fans at games, but have 17,000 fans when Caitlin Clark shows up to town with a fever.
Before Clark's rise, WNBA games averaged around 6,000 fans, but Caitlin, she's out here filling 20,000-seat arenas like it's nothing. That's triple the usual crowd. The fans aren't coming for a team, they're coming for her. XX have even admitted they'd rather sacrifice home court advantage than miss out on the Caitlin cash grab. That's not just a hot ticket, that's a gold mine in a jersey.
The Phoenix Mercury play in the NBA arena. The Seattle Storm do. There are 13 WNBA teams, 7 already playing NBA arenas. The other 6 are moving their games to NBA arenas versus the Fever. You can't acknowledge that she is the needle mover. Yeah.
So let's add this up. The WNBA attendance spiked by 48% last year, and guess who carried that bump on her back? Caitlin. Teams are no longer just adding her games to their calendars, they're building their entire seasons around her. Vegas didn't just shift one game, they moved multiple matchups to T-Mobile Arena just to accommodate the Clark effect. The same aces who act like she's not a threat are booking bigger stages every time she rolls into town.
You know, a lot of people say that Caitlin Clark moves the needle. That is wrong. She is the needle. She dictates. We all know what she's done on the floor. It's history, right? But off the floor, my goodness.
But wait, if you thought arena changes were wild, the TV coverage is even crazier. Caitlin Clark is now booked for 41 national broadcasts this season. 41, that's more national airtime than entire WNBA teams have had in the last decade combined. ESPN, ABC, CBS, NBA TV. They're all fighting for a piece of the Caitlin pie.
Now we've got some more information on the games and some perspective. Here we are. Indiana Fever put this out, man, just a few minutes ago. All eyes on us. 41 of our 44 games are on national television.
But wait, if you thought arena changes were wild, the TV coverage is even crazier. Caitlin Clark is now booked for 41 national broadcasts this season. 41. That's more national airtime than entire WNBA teams have had in the last decade combined. ESPN, ABC, CBS, NBA TV, they're all fighting for a piece of the Caitlin pie.
The most television games in franchise history, the most national television games in for a single team in WNBA history. How about that?
Last season, the Indiana Fever set viewership records throughout the league. Now they're the crown jewel of broadcast scheduling. It's like they went from background noise a few years ago when they could barely win games to the headliner overnight, and that's got to sting for players like Aisha and Angel, who probably assumed the spotlight was theirs for the taking. Instead, they're watching Clark steal the show, break the ratings, and book the slots. Clark didn't just boost attendance, she flipped the entire WNBA broadcast model. Her games consistently shattered viewership records, hitting the million-viewer mark like it was light work. Now the networks are in a bidding war, elbowing each other for Caitlin content like it's Black Friday at Best Buy.
This also just came out. This is the national broadcast schedule right here against the Sky. It's an ABC broadcast network television game. New York Liberty. It's a CBS game.
ABC didn't just want Fever games, they demanded the ones against Chicago, because let's be real, the Clark Reed drama is television gold. CBS grabbed up the Liberty matchups while ESPN snatched the Aces showdown, because nothing screams must-see TV like Caitlin Clark dismantling the league's so-called super team.
These are all going to be big rated games. CBS against the Sky. ABC against the Liberty. So you're seeing the teams that move the needles that they're going to play. That should draw some ratings anyway. I'm not going to say these other teams move the needles because they really don't.
While Caitlin Clark continues to dominate headlines and hijack the league's spotlight, there's a growing frustration simmering beneath the surface. Games that don't feature Clark are becoming harder and harder to find in prime-time. Veteran stars who've spent years in the trenches building their reputations are now watching from the sidelines as Clark gets center stage again and again, and let's be real, they're not thrilled. Can you blame them? Imagine grinding in the league for years only to see another player get 41 nationally televised games, while your own team barely registers a blip on the sports media radar.
Bringing more and more fans to this league, people that have maybe never watched the WNBA before, and it kind of takes your breath away at points.
The WNBA's initial marketing strategy didn't help either. Last season, they tried to promote a variety of players, essentially giving everyone a participation ribbon. They hoped that spreading the spotlight would balance attention and keep egos in check, but fans weren't buying it. They tuned in for Clark. They skipped everything else. The data was undeniable and the league had no choice but to adjust suddenly. It wasn't about balance, it was about giving the audience what they demanded: more Caitlyn. The